final video, I'm sure you guys are excited that this is your last video, is piecewise functions. I believe that this is new. I know I didn't cover it in Algebra 2, so my guess is nobody has seen this just yet. And what a piecewise function is when you've got certain functions for certain parts of the domain. So if we're taking a look at this, we've got f of x equals either 2x, only when x is less than 2, f of x equals 4, only when x is between 2 and 4, including the 2, not including the 4, and f of x is negative 1/4 x plus 5, only if x is greater than or equal to 4. So notice that those domains are non-overlapping. So if we substitute 2 in for x, right here our green function would be the one that we would use because that's where x is equal to 2. We would not use the red function because x is strictly less than 2. So there's no overlap, so there's no confusion about which one of those three pieces of the function we are going to use. So what we're going to do is graph our 2x for x is less than 2. So I'm going to start with the y-intercept because 0 is less than 2. So my y-intercept is 0. I don't know where that little lovely came from. So then we've got our slope is 2. So we're going to rise 2, and I'm using each of the lines as 1. So I'm going to rise 2, run 1. And then I'm going to rise 2 and run 1 more, and I'm going to put an open circle here because it's not equal to that point, but I'm going to start pretty darn close to it. And then we can fall 2, run to the left 1, etc. to get several more points for our graph because this is going to continue forever in our negative direction. So here's the first part. Sorry, I don't know what's going on with my calibration. The first part of our piecewise graph. I'm going to graph the green one. F of x equals 4 when x is between 2 and 4. Well, I'm at 4 right here with my first function. So between 2 and 4, and now I can fill in that circle because it's the same, and actually, sorry, I should have an open circle there for it's less than 4. The blue one, starting at 4. So I'm actually going to go ahead and substitute 4 in for x and see what my output is so I know where to start, and then I can use my slope from there. So f of 4, I'm going to use my blue function because that's what it tells me to use when x is 4, negative 1/4 times 4 plus 5. Negative 1/4 times 4 is negative 1 plus 5 is 4. So it actually matches up with my green graph, which is convenient. So I can fill in that circle now. And then my slope is negative 1/4. So I'm going to fall 1 and run 4. And then I can continue doing that till I run out of graph. All right, so there's the graphing part of the piecewise function. Now we're going to figure out how to evaluate a piecewise function. So f of 3. So when we're looking at our function, we need to figure out which one of the three we use when f is 3. I'm going to clear some of this out of the way here. So when we look at our 3 different domains, we have to figure out which one would 3 fit in. Well, 3 is between 2 and 4, so I'm going to use the green part of my function because that's where my domain falls. And f of x equals 4. So there's really no work to do. F of 3 equals 4 using my green function. F of 5, again, going back to figure out which domain it falls into. 5 is greater than or equal to 4, so this time I'm going to use the blue part of my function, and I'm going to substitute 5 for x. So we get negative 1/4 times 5 plus 5. Negative 1/4 times 5 is negative 5/4. I'm going to convert this to a fraction. I'm going to multiply by 4 over 4 to get a common denominator for a total of 15/4. If you want to convert that to a mixed number, because we're kind of looking at the graph as well, that's fine. But at this point, all you've been asked to do is evaluate. And finally, f of negative 1. So looking back at my piecewise function, -1 is less than 2. So I will use the 2x part of my function. So 2 times -1 gives me -2. Let me go back and just clarify real quickly, talking again, connecting this to the domain and range. So for our function, for a domain of 3, or an x value of 3, we have a range or an output of 4. For the second one, for an input of 5, or a domain of 5, we have an output or a range of 15/4. And finally, for a domain or an input of -1, we got an output of -2. And your you try questions. In case you don't have the note in front of you, pause the video and I'll scroll down so you can see the final one as well.